Hi, this is Chef Paul, and today we're going to be making that beurre blanc sauce. Remember beurre blanc, it's basically a white butter sauce, and it's when we went into those mother sauces, it's not one of the 5 mother sauces, but it's used a lot in restaurants, and it can be converted into so many different sauces. So I'm going to show you today how you make it. You saw a video on, I'm going to go over it again. We have our butter right here. I'm putting garlic in it. You don't have to. I like garlic. I think it gives it added more flavor. Traditionally, it just has shallots. This is a shallot. It kind of, here's a garlic, and you know what an onion is. So it's kind of like a cross between an onion and a garlic. So I'm going to dice this in a second and show you how you cut that. In the video, they used white vinegar. You can use white vinegar. I prefer lemon juice. I think it gives it a little better flavor. You can use either or. A lot of lemons right now, so I'm going to go ahead and use lemon as our acid. And then some form of white wine. Obviously, if you're making this at home, you're going to have to use it. You're going to have to make this with your parents as a reduction. When you cook out how long we're going to be cooking this wine for, there will be no alcohol in it. So, and wine is used a lot actually in culinary. But I'm going to show you right now what you do. You take you clean this just like you do an onion, all right? And I'm going to cut this just like that. And then we're going to handle this just like you did when we did the onion. You're going to take it like this, and we do our little 1, 2. I'm going to probably do 3. Okay, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to turn it like this, and you go slow, right? We're just going to go slow, and we're just going to dice this really slow. You can see you get these little pieces. We're going to end up straining these at the end, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then in the end, we just kind of chop that, all right? And if you wanted it finer, this is actually enough. You can go one more time, and we can chop it down. All right, that's our chopped shallot, and now I'm going to show you how we turn this into beurre blanc. Okay, so here we are. We have our pot, and we have all the mise en place that we need. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our shallots inside. You just go ahead and put the shallots in there. I'm going to go ahead and this is going to pour the wine in there like that. And then we're going to use, I'm going to use lemon juice. I'm going to use fresh lemons. There's so many lemons right now. So we're going to go ahead and use lemon juice. So I'm just going to squeeze this in, put some lemon in here. Like I said, if you don't have lemons, traditionally you can just use white vinegar. I think it tastes better with lemon juice. Like I said, that's the thing with cooking. You can change it, and you could actually make this with orange juices as well, and you have like an orange beurre blanc. They make what they call a raspberry beurre blanc by using raspberries you put in here when you reduce it down. Get that down. So this is going to be a reduction. So I'm going to have to cook this for anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. You're going to cook it slow. I'll show you that in a minute. Get all this lemon in there. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, oh, got a seed. Take the seed out. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. Traditionally they don't, but I think it tastes good with garlic, so I always add I love garlic. Put a little bit of garlic in there, and now we're going to start a reduction. I'm going to reduce this for about 20 to 30 minutes. When it's at the right time, I'm also going to add a little bit of cream to it, and I'll show you when we're going to add that, and then how you add the butter. So let's go start our reduction. I'm going to go ahead and put this on, turn this up. And we're going to bring it up I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. So we're going to come back and we're going to check it out in a few minutes. All right, well, you can see it's come to a boil. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down to a low simmer. We don't want to we want it to reduce really slow so you get all the flavor into the wine reduction that we're doing here. So we're just going to let this go now. There we go. It turned down, and we're going to check it in about 20 minutes and see how it looks. All right, so we're checking in on our beurre blanc here. You can see the reduction. This is how it should look. Okay, so we got an easy, it's not over boiling. We're just gonna let this go. There's way too much liquid still in it. Like I said, it's gonna take about 20 minutes. So we're gonna let it go. We'll check on it in 10 more minutes, see how it looks. Okay, so we're checking on our beurre blanc, and you can see now it's nice and reduced. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of cream to it, and it's going to help the emulsion and keep it from breaking. You don't add a lot, maybe a tablespoon or so. So I'm just going to add a little bit of cream, and now we're going to check back on it in about 5 minutes. All right, so we keep checking on our beurre blanc here, and it is reducing. So we're just looking at this. It's starting to get close. So we're going to check back in another minute, and I'm going to show you how you add the butter. All right, so our reduction is there. We got the wine, the lemon juice, and a little bit of cream. Now you gotta make the beurre blanc, right? So we gotta add butter to it. Now the thing with this is you add the butter a little bit at a time, and you gotta deal with the temperature because you don't wanna get it too hot. So I'm putting this cold butter in, right? And the key with this is you can't get it too cold. So you can't add it all at one time. So I add a little bit like this and it's gonna melt. And then when this melts, you can see how it's starting to melt here like that. And then I'm gonna add another one. All right, so I'm gonna do this, and then what'll happen is I have it off right now. I turned off the heat. But what's gonna happen is it's gonna get cold, so I'm gonna have to add more heat to it once the butter starts to get it too cold. So you're gonna have to go back and forth and keep the temperature right. So you see I'm just adding one at a time, and I'm mixing them in. So right now it's starting to get a little bit, so I'm gonna add the temperature back on. So I'm bringing it back up because you don't want it to get too cold and you don't want it to get too hot. So you go back and forth, back and forth. So I'm gonna add another one now. I have heat on it, so I should be okay. I'm just gonna keep putting this in. You can see it's a lot of butter. It's gonna go back and forth. So we'll check on it in a minute and I'll get it in here. All right, so I'm putting the last one in. I turned it off now so I don't have any heat on it. So I've been going back and forth with the heat. I just want it to be hot enough. Try like 120 degrees. You don't want it to get cold, right? But we can't boil it. If I boil this, it'll separate, right? So you're creating this emulsion with the butter and you're just kind of mixing it in. Look at that. Now I'm just gonna get that all nice. That's nice. And now what we gotta do is we gotta strain it. So I'm gonna show you in a second here. I'll show you how we strain it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna strain it, just like what they did on that video. So what you do is you just kind of pour it into it if you have. You don't have to. If you don't have a way to strain it, then you don't strain it. And you can make all kinds of, you could add ginger to this, you could add pickled ginger to it. Sometimes you add wasabi and you serve it with tuna. Like I said, there's so many different ways you can make a beurre blanc with. I mean, there's so many different flavors, you know. This is traditional, shallots, I put a little garlic in it. And you just kind of push it through, get it all out. That's all the flavor there, that looks good. All right, now that's done here. Now the key with this is we gotta keep it from, see how smooth that is? If it gets too cold, it'll separate. And if it gets too hot, it'll separate. So normally what I would do is if you're in a restaurant, you make a lot of it and you put it on what we call the double boiler, right? You put it with the water and you just keep it warm. So we're gonna leave it here warm and I'm gonna show you how we serve it with our salmon. Okay, so we're gonna be doing salmon with beurre blanc. We're also gonna be serving it with a potato cake. We did potato cakes early on in the year. The recipe for it is up on DV Culinary. Potato cakes, we showed it with eggs and different things. Potato cakes can be served with breakfast, they can be served with steaks, or they can be served with salmon. So here are the potato cakes, and if you remember, I'm gonna show you how we gotta cook them. So they've already been made. You can make them any size you want. And again, the recipe and how to make them is up on DV Culinary. Hot. So we're going to add some oil on here. Just going to get it going here. So now you can use a griddle. You could use, whatever you'd like to. I'm using a non-stick. It's best. Some form of a Teflon pan. It could is best to use. So it looks like they're kind of getting warm there now. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on. All right, so we're gonna check back on them in a couple minutes and I'll show you how you flip them and then we're gonna show you how you serve them with salmon. All right, so you can see I actually already flipped them. I just wanted to show you how brown. This one didn't get quite brown. If you're trying to get them nice and golden brown, again, the recipe will be sent to you and it's on, we already have a video on how to make them. So you're just gonna get them all nice and brown like that. They're just about done. And I'm gonna show you how you serve them with your salmon. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do for our salmon dish is we're gonna do sauteed spinach. I'm gonna show you how you saute spinach. Most people overcook spinach, so I'm gonna show you how you saute. You gotta get your pan hot first, right? It's gotta be hot. I'm gonna grab a little bit of oil. You're gonna use a little olive oil. We're gonna use olive oil, lemon, and we're just gonna season it a little bit. So we're gonna take, and I'm gonna use garlic. I always use garlic. You take a little bit of olive oil in there. We're gonna take some garlic. We're gonna throw some garlic in there, just like that. Then we're gonna put our spinach to just kind of get that going. And then you just kind of put this in here, right? This is all gonna happen really fast. Now I'm gonna use some salt. Just gonna put a little salt, boom, a little salt in there. And we're gonna hit it with some pepper. You gotta do a little cracked pepper, just like that. Now it's all gonna happen fast. I'm gonna squeeze some lemon. I'm gonna squeeze lemon in here, just like that. Lemon. And a little more. Boom. Just all. And then I'm gonna hit it with a pinch of stock and we're done. Boom. Hit it. Flip. We're done. Now I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna go put it on our plate. Just like that. Happens really fast. Beautiful. Now we're gonna do some tomatoes. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick seared tomato with this plate as well. So I just took a tomato, I put some olive oil, salt and pepper, there's some garlic on it. It's just a half a tomato. And I'm just gonna put a crust on it and then we're gonna serve it with our salmon. So I get a nice hot pan, we put it down like that. We're gonna let it go. So I'm just gonna let it get nice and get a nice color to it. So we're gonna check on it in 30 seconds and I'm gonna show you how you get it seared. All right, so we've been searing this tomato. You know, it's just olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic. Put it like that. That's what you're trying to get. Just that little bit of texture on it. You want to keep it still firm. So I'm going to take this here and I'm going to show you how we're going to plate that with our salmon. Okay, hi, this is Chef Paul, and today we're going to be cooking a salmon that we're going to serve with our beurre blanc. So I got a piece of salmon here, right? So you got like anything. Whenever you have anything, you need to season it. You can season it with whatever you'd like. I'm going to take a little bit of salt, you know, a little bit of salt on it. Put a little bit of cracked pepper on it. I have some lemon pepper. Why not? We can coat it with a little bit of lemon pepper. I took the skin off. You can serve salmon with the skin on, but I have the skin off on this one. Again, you can season this with whatever you like. You can make a Cajun. You can do whatever you want. I'm just, like I said, using lemon pepper, salt and pepper, a little salt, and then I'm gonna sear it. Now, the key with salmon is you want to create a crust. Okay, so how are we going to do that? You got to have a hot pan. So I got it seasoned, and then we're going to use stock and lemon, and we're going to end up cooking this in the oven. So let's go over to our pan now. I think it should be hot. I'm going to turn this up, and we're going to add our oil. Okay, so we're going to add oil to it. Okay, make sure it's hot. Oh yeah, that's nice and hot. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to sear this. Okay, get this nice and hot. I'm going to let this go. And then I'm going to end up cooking this. We're going to end up taking this and we're going to end up cooking it in the oven. Okay, so you can see we got real high heat going on. I'm trying to create a crust. That's the key. You know, I got it going. It's not sticking, so I'm just kind of looking at it, seeing where we're at. See that crust? Now I'm going to turn it up. There we go. That's what you want to create, that nice crust. And using a pan like this is really nice because this particular pan I can put in the oven. If you don't have a pan that you put in the oven, you'll sear it and you'll put it in something that you can put in the oven. So we're going to check back on this in a minute and I'm going to show you how you finish it. Okay, so we got it nice and seared right now. So now what I'm going to do is that's what you're trying to create, that crust. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of stock to it. Okay, so this is just stock, just a little bit of stock. There we go. That's going to keep it nice. Yeah, that's perfect. Then I'm just going to put a little lemon. See some lemon on it. And I just leave that in there. Put some more lemon on it like this. Just like that. Get rid of the seeds. All right, so now what I'm going to do now is I have all this here, and I'm just going to pop this in the oven, and we're going to check on it in 10 minutes. All right, so our salmon came out of the oven. You can see it reduced. It kept it moist. We put the stock in there, the lemon in there. You can add any type of... you can add wine too, but I just use stock and lemon. We seasoned it, we got a crust on it. So now we're gonna take it and we're gonna put that on our plate. So now if you look at our plate, we have our potato cakes, right? We have our tomatoes that we seared, and then we got that spinach that we cooked really, really fast. Now we're gonna do our beurre blanc. Remember the beurre blanc? So now we have our nice beurre blanc that we made. You can see, we've been trying to keep it nice and warm. Just kind of pour this on, just like that. Just like that, kind of let it go off to the side a little bit. Like I said, this is a traditional one. It's just made with the lemon. You can put anything on it. All right, there you go. So that's a seared salmon, potato cake, sauteed spinach, grilled tomatoes with a classic beurre blanc.